Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
You know what? We wake up every morning in a great land of opportunity to do what we want to do. But we have to have the gumption and the drive to get her done. God bless America. Here comes Kate Smith with the same song, God Bless America. We need a patriot to call in. Come on, patriots. Pledge of Allegiance time. And a good morning to you and yours. I'm Zeb Bell at Zeb at the Ranch, and of course brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations, very safe, clean environment, and of course the best in tires. And of course Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have a patriot with our pledge. Good morning.
Good morning. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
How's Little Miss Sunshine doing this morning?
Great.
Oh,
God bless America.
I love it. Thank you for calling in. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Her voice just smiles all the time. I love that. Hey, the weather forecast. Ready to go with K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn. Hello, Roger and the crew. Hello, Roger and the crew. I was losing my voice this morning. And they've got everything over there, all the best of tools and equipment for you to finish any kind of a task, any kind of a construction project for both long and short-term rental. They've got it all. They've got it all for you. Call them, 678-3122, K&R Rental. And right now, here's our weather.
The air quality alert still persists for today and some more rain showers in the forecast. Here's a look at your weather. We are expecting hazy conditions, rain showers off and on, and yes, that air quality alert is still in effect. So if you have upper respiratory issues, you might want to limit your time outside. We are expecting a high of 89 tonight, isolated thunderstorms, patchy smoke as well, with a low of 57. By tomorrow, smoke will still persist in the area, high of 83 with an overnight low of 52. Hopefully by Friday, we're going to see sunny skies, nice and clear, with a high of 84, overnight low of 53. Saturday, sunny and 87, then looks like possibly 76 for Sunday. That's a look at your weather for Zeb.
I appreciate it, Gina. Thank you. Great job. And the weather brought to you by K&R Rental. Now, they get there early in the morning at the Burley-Paul Highway location and to serve you starting at about 7 o'clock in the morning. If you're not sure what you're going to need for tools on a various project, hey, give them a call. They can help. 678-3122, K&R Rental. Thank you very much. I want to give you a little update on some information momentarily, and I want to thank everybody for a certain item. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-0459. They literally have all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. Not brag, that's a fact. And they've got all your air conditioning filters, too. You want to stay cool. I know it's cooling off a little bit, but it's still going to get up there, and they can help you. Right. In the summertime, they keep you cool. Wintertime, keep you warm. Absolutely. My friends, open the doors at 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Absolutely. Real quick note, and then I'll start taking some calls. I want to remind everybody about our dear friend Anthony over to Save on Shells. Oh, if you've ever been there, he's got camper shells here. He's got camper shells over there. He's got all the camper shells here, there, and everywhere at 1827 Overland and Burley. Number to call him, and he can help you. He's helped me. I bought a couple of them from him, as a matter of fact, and I've got a brand new one. Boy, I mean, they match the paint, not patch the maint. Match the paint on my pickup perfectly with a brand new ARE shell. Lifetime warranty, quality, service, and low prices with Anthony and the group at Save on Shells, 1827 Overland. Number to call, 312-1525. I want to say a big thank you to many, many, many of you that have tried to get a hold of me. I didn't get a chance to answer all the calls. Quite frankly, busy day yesterday, worrying about Deanne, and I don't know too much about changing in circumstances. This is a very, very hard time, and I'm sure many, many people can relate to this. When you take your loved one to the hospital, you are left out in the cold, literally. And I managed to get as far as the entrance door and was told I could come no farther. It's frustrating. It is absolutely sorrowful that we can't be with our loved ones inside the hospital rooms and see for ourselves what their condition is and or was and how it's being bettered. But I don't know a lot of information, but I want to thank everybody for your kind remarks. I had a lot of texts and a lot of emails and calls, and thank you. God bless all of you. I appreciate it. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to also say thank you to Dino Septic Service for the job they do. They've got the latest and new equipment. They've even got one of those cameras that goes down through the pipes and finds the problem and then says, I see it. By golly, they've got it all. For the best of septic tank pumping and sewer and sink drain line cleaning and water and sewer lines installed, backhoe services, liquid waste removal, these are the folks to call. Dino Septic Service at 436-6526 or 678-1638. Fast, fair, friendly service. The best. Dino Septic Service. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
My friend.
Hey, you heard about the Trump rally up in Boise?
A little bit.
Yeah, there was a bunch of pictures, and I know someone who gathered up those pictures and posted on Facebook and said, Patriots make Idahoans proud.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook took it down because it does not meet their standards.
Well, let's stop and talk about this a little bit. You know, you're a knife in the drawer, Doug. You know that this is all a planned plot to basically manipulate what they want out in the front of the public or not. If it's anything of conservative values, if it's anything against Planned Parenthood, if it's anything pro-Trump, it ain't gonna fly.
Exactly. And that just disgusts me. I mean, here these people are getting rich off of us out here, the taxpayers, and yet they want to control what we hear and what we see. You think the Democrats are bad? Social media and mainstream media is the one that's leading this country down a rabbit hole. That's the one that's dividing this country, that's pitting neighbor against neighbor.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. When you have a detestable, and I'm going to come right out and be blunt, buddy, and if people don't like it, they can turn the dial, vermin-ridden group like Black Lives Matter, and they are what I said. They're a Marxist commie group. If you can give them all the free coverage, and listen to this, and I know you know this is true, there has been over tens of millions tens of millions of dollars donated by major corporations in this country. I think it's kind of blackmail money, if you will, to the Black Lives Matter. And this group, absolutely in the most detestable way, is going around now into restaurants. Did you see that tape? And they're going in mass groups into restaurants, standing over people while they're trying to eat and demanding that they raise their fist in the air and be supportive of Black Lives Matter.
I've seen that. And what's really disgusting, the other patrons in that restaurant did not stand up to defend that gal was raking over the coals.
Yeah.
Everybody in that restaurant, if you believe in America and you believe in freedoms, when someone does that, everybody needs to stand up and meet force with force. But you notice they don't come 1 and 2 people. They come 10 and 20 to pick on one.
Well, yeah, I mean, they go in mass groups because basically they're worthless cowards. Let's call it what it is. And I want to go back to what you said a minute ago. As far as standing up, the more that we allow evil to portray itself and be a part of our society, the bigger it's going to get, like a cancer. I know I'm going to take heat over this, but Doug, you know I'm right. It's time to stand up to the cancer and beat it down into the dirt.
Yes, just like the Knights did back in the day to push back the Muslims that was taking over Europe. They stood up and pushed back and beat them back. We need to stand up. We need to help each other and defend each other.
What
to the protests in where is that, Milwaukee?
No, it's in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Kenosha, where a couple rioters were shot, and that one guy was screaming, call the police, call the police.
Yeah.
I thought they wanted to defund the police.
You know, the idiocy of what's happening in this country and the blind eye and the deaf ear by the Democrats. You know, I have never liked this man that I'm going to mention right now, but I'm going to mention his name on my program this morning. I cannot stand and or stomach Juan Williams. He is a black, either naive or very stupid man that can't see the forest because one tree's in front of him. And he has disavowed the violence in Portland, disavowed the violence in Seattle, and has minimized what's going on in other parts of the country, including Kenosha. I do not understand how you can have a commentator on a news network that absolutely is that naive and stupid.
He's been given his talking points. He's an obedient soldier. He's been given his talking points, and this is what you talk. This is how you say and what you say. It's like, I can't remember which series of Star Wars it was when they had the Borg where everybody got plugged in and the one mind told all their little drones on what to say and what to do. That's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, but, you know, going back to this Black Lives Matter, what's so disgusting, and then I've got to take a commercial break, Doug, but what's so disgusting about their organization is after they literally burned a major part of some of the businesses in Kenosha area, and people were beaten and everything, and a 71-year-old man was knocked unconscious and left laying on the sidewalk for trying to protect his business, they left the Black Lives Matter stickers all over the walls.
Yeah. I mean, it's time for Americans to wake up. It's time. I'll tell you what, if I had a business and there was a city where there was a possibility of riots and burning, I'd be living in my business. And there'd be signs on the windows and the door. You break windows and enter this building, you are taking your life in your own hands.
Yeah, it would be the Mr. and Mrs. McCloskey situation. However, the safety would be off.
Exactly. I wouldn't be just waving it around. As soon as someone stepped foot in that building, they would better have an ID on them so they'd notify next of kin.
It's got to come to that. It has got to come to that because we are being taken over by worthless punks that are destroying any kind of civilization in this country.
Yes, and where they go into the neighborhood, shining lights in the windows,
Oh, my
screaming,
goodness.
wake up, wake up, wake up.
Yeah.
And that guy fired some warning shots. Did you see him scatter?
Yeah, they kind of reminded me of, flies that are being chased. I got to run, Doug.
Anyway.
God bless you.
You got to run, so everybody, let's do what we can for our senior centers. If you can donate to them, do it. If you can go volunteer and help, do it. But remember, if you go there and eat, you'll leave with a full tummy and a full heart.
I love it. Thank you, Doug. Don't forget, talking about all the great people on our program, I want to remind you about the urgent cares right now through the end of August, and you better hurry and get in there. If you need sports physicals for your student athletes, they are offering sports physicals for only $10 at all the urgent cares. Riverview Urgent Care in Burley, and then Urgent Care of Twin Falls on Addison Avenue East, and Urgent Care of Jerome on West Avenue A. And $10 sports physicals. They used to be $20, but they're doing this special, and then they donate the money right back to your school's athletic program. You better stop in and see them today. No appointments necessary at the urgent cares. And sports physicals, just $10. You stop in and see them today. Want to remind you, too, about our dear friends at Denny's Restaurant. I absolutely am a big fan of their menu and a big fan of the people that serve you. They are very nice, very knowledgeable, and let me tell you, you're going to really enjoy the food. Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner at 611 North Overland in Burley, and another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, anytime, all the time, desserts, whatever, you're going to have a great meal and leave with a smile on your face at America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. Well, we have to, the bottom line is these people are openly Marxist. They've openly said they want to destroy the free enterprise constitutional republic, which we have today, and replace it with communism. I mean, this is their objective. I mean, they're openly about it, and of course, you got people that are paying money for these demonstrators. Some of them, I guess, are getting up to $25 an hour to go out and loot and burn and so forth, and that's been pretty well documented. But the fact is, a lot of them are young women. This is really unbelievable. But this country today, it goes back, Zeb, and we've discussed this, is our education system from grade school through college is just teaching people how to be good little socialists, and then the next extension of that is to become a good little Marxist and to destroy the culture and the country.
Well, I agree with you. I'm not going to lump all schools. I'm not going to lump all administrations, and I'm not going to lump all faculties into that lump sum statement, because that's not true. But we are seeing in major areas all across the United States, all the way from the elementary schools through high school and into the college and university system, that exact thing happening. But I'm not going to lump all schools and all superintendents, etc., into the same ball of wax.
Well, here's what's happening, and I know this on a personal note from a friend. If you're conservative and you're a professor at most universities, and this is not a real liberal university, you don't get tenure. And so the survey was taken, and it's been published, the number of conservative constitutional type professors at our at the universities is less than 10%.
Yeah.
And so, these universities in turn are turning out the teachers that are then teaching our students.
No, I understand that.
How the system is working in the favor of those that want to destroy this country, make it socialist, Marxist.
I agree with you entirely, and we can see it happening. Adrian, I appreciate it. I got calls stacked up. Thank you. God bless. Have a wonderful day. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
We better take a stand and let our elected officials, they take an oath to need to get our schools back in the hands of Idaho citizens instead of the United Nations.
All right, I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate your call, as always. Well, I want to remind you, caller, I'll be right there. Sophie's Chatterbox. Every Monday we give away cookies, a dozen cookies, to the winner of a trivia question. I urge you to stop in. They've got a fantastic restaurant, and what a bakery. Oh, cookies, pies, cakes, everything at Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
They hung up.
Well, darn. Call back. I'd love to have your call. While I'm waiting for that phone line to light up, and we'll talk more about the idiocy of what's going on in this country, I don't know how else to explain it. I want to remind you about a big event that's coming up on September 12th, and I don't want you to miss it. If you're at all interested or in the horse business, you need to be at the Zollinger Ranch 32nd Annual Production Sale for the best of quarter horses. Is that bragging? Nope, that's a fact. I mean, the top bloodlines, these are horses with minds and talent and personality, top colts and fillies, and I'm telling you, folks, you're going to love this sale. You're going to love these horses. They do it all. It's up in Oakley at the ranch at 1994 South, 100 east of Oakley, and the previews at 10 a.m., the sale at 11. Jerry Zollinger and the family, these are good people that know good horses, and they've got them for sale at the 32nd Annual Zollinger Quarter Horse Ranch Production Sale, September 12th. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Caller, you're back. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Chad.
Yes, sir.
How come nothing's been said about the Republican convention last night?
Well, Bob, give me a break and don't get my hackles up. I mean, man, I just started the program and I haven't had a chance to get to it yet.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought Mrs. Trump did a fantastic job last night. I think Mr. Trump could take a few lessons from her speech and the way she presented it. And one other little thing that it's burning in my craw. Why can't we make out a new slogan, All Lives Matter, instead of Black Lives Matter, because we are all children of our Heavenly Father.
I agree with you.
Thank you, Zeb, and have a good day.
Okay, Bob, I appreciate it. I just wanted to say, but he was on his way off. Bob, are you still there? He's gone. I want to say this, and for those of you that don't agree, I'm certainly welcoming your opinions. I don't want Donald Trump to change. I don't want him to change the way he delivers anything in a speech. I don't want him to change his mannerisms. I don't want him to change anything about his tweeting. I don't want him to change anything about his personality so that he becomes a puppet like Joe Biden. The man is himself. The man has his own distinct personality. The man is a businessman, proven time and time again. The man knows what he's doing in the business world. He's taken this country to the pinnacle of success economically, and then all of a sudden, the dastardly COVID-19. I don't want him to change a thing. How would you feel if somebody said, well, I don't like your personality. I don't like the way you read that over the air. I don't like the way you introduced that guest. I want you to change and sound more like so-and-so. Well, in that case, I'm going to turn around and tell that person, no, I'm my own person, and I'm going to stay the way I am. And I want that to be the same for President Trump. Whether you like his arrogancy or not, whether you like the way he's got kind of a New York brogue in his speech or not, that's him. That's him. Accept it. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This idea of sitting there at a restaurant with your spouse or your significant other or having dinner with a group of friends And then all of a sudden the restaurant doors open up and 30 or more people rush in and go to various tables and start yelling and screaming at you right over your food when you're eating and demanding, you'd better pledge your allegiance to Black Lives Matter or else. Raise your arm, make a fist, and pledge your allegiance to Black Lives Matter. I'm not making this up. If you saw the tape, you've seen that I'm telling you exactly the way it is. The only fist that should be raised at that juncture is right into the face of this absolutely worthless punk that's yelling and spitting into your food. Caller, good morning.
Well, good morning, Mr. Bell. I did see the video, and I can tell you one thing. If we don't start standing up and helping each other, like Doug said, we're sunk. I cannot imagine sitting there and letting somebody belittle and harass another person and not stand up and help defend them.
There should have been an equal number of patrons, especially the so-called men in the restaurants. And it's not just one restaurant, it's happened in other places. They should have stood up and honestly, in a not very polite form, grabbed these vermin and thrown them out on the street.
Yeah, and what's wrong with the managers of these places allowing that to happen to their loyal customers? I can't imagine sitting there and letting somebody get in my face while I'm dining with my family, whether it's just, George and I, or whether it's because we always have one or two of our grandkids with us. I do not like violence, but I will be nobody's doormat either.
Donna, I think, honestly, what you said as a point a moment ago, that's worth a little bit more conversation. I think the owners, like you were saying, what's the matter with them? Why aren't they doing anything? I think they are cowed and fearful into a corner like a little wimp child that absolutely says, ooh, if we do something, why, we might have retribution against our business. I honestly think that's the reason.
You're probably right, but I can't, we go to several different establishments here in Rupert and Burley, and we patronize one more than the other. And I cannot imagine the owner of, and I won't mention names,
please,
establishment standing by and letting anybody harass her customers.
This is going to sound really callous, and it's going to sound like Wild West, but I want to get your opinion on this. I absolutely thought what happened up at our State House at the House of Representatives the other day with the breaking of the door and the violence and the demanding to get in was as low class, and I want to emphasize those words, as low class as people can be. It was not done at all in a manner of civility to get a point across. It was just a bunch of thugs demanding something. In that regard, when they go into a restaurant, when people are enjoying a meal and not doing anything wrong, that is a call for me to adhere to violence to get rid of these punks.
Oh, I'm right there behind you. I still believe in the rule of the 3 S's.
Yeah, I know what they are. Please don't repeat it.
Nope, that's why I use the abbreviations, and most people in our age group know what that is.
Absolutely.
But, like I said, I do not believe in violence, but I am nobody's doormat.
And that's what America has become, Donna, is a doormat to the evil left loons that are trying to not only get their point across, but to force their point across and take over this country.
Well, they're trying, and I'm praying that Trump gets reelected, because if Biden gets in, the sad thing about it is he's going to step aside, and guess who's going to be our president?
Yeah, you're not kidding. But in regards to having somebody, and it could happen here, it could happen in Boise, Idaho Falls, Pocatello, Twin Falls, wherever, to where these people are going to come in and start making demands while you're eating to raise your hand in the air in the form of a fist and pledge allegiance to Black Lives Matter. In that regard, the only place that my fist is going to go is right between their eyes.
I'll be right there behind you. talking about Trump and the difference between the Democratic National Convention and the Republican National Convention is the Republicans I was totally impressed so far.
Yeah.
They didn't have actors, and they came across as knowing what needs to be done.
Yep.
You know, the father of that young girl that was killed, that just broke my heart. He got up there and stated, why he was voting for Trump. They're all very eloquently spoken. The First Lady was amazing. I think she is just an amazing woman.
Yeah, and the garbage that she has taken from the liberal left media is absolutely so low and so vile. I hope you heard yesterday that she was asked to rearrange and renovate the Rose Garden, which, of course, the First Ladies are in charge of. And so she did, and the evil, demented left, especially CNN, came out with a story that how dare a foreigner have anything to do with the Rose Garden?
Yeah, I saw that and I heard that. And, it's just their evil agenda. They don't care who they step on. But you know what? She's a first-class lady.
Oh, my, yes.
She is not going to bow down and turn this into a mudslinging thing. And back to the convention. Do you realize that the ratings, the TV ratings for the first night of the convention, we'll hear how last night did probably later on today, but the first night of the Republican National Convention had 6 times more viewers. Well, of course, because it was an upbeat, not a, we're going to destroy this, Trump's he's got to be replaced, he's out of his league. The Democrats are just, and not all, there's some Republicans that have joined in with them.
They're not Republicans.
And we all know who they are. But the difference between it is the Republicans still have a whole lot more class.
And that's being shown every single day. God bless you for your call. Yep. Thank you. By the way, it is 8:39, Donna, and George should be out of bed. Okay. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What would you do, honestly? Would you be milquetoast and just sit there at the table and raise your hand in the form of a fist and agree with Black Lives Matter? Would you just capitulate and lose all of your standard and all of your beliefs and all of your sincerities and just go along with them? Or would you poke them in the nose? Call me, let me know. Barry Equipment and Rental, Sales, Service, and Parts, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Napa location. They've got a huge, that means really big, inventory of all the Bobcats, all shapes and sizes, all the trenchers, all the scissor lifts. They've got all the equipment for the lifting, the digging, the pushing, the carrying, grading, and leveling. They've got it all, including all the Doosan wheel loaders and excavators. You better check it out today. People that you can really work with on leases and or buying. Barry Equipment and Rental. Burley, Twin Falls, and Napa. You stop in and see those good folks today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. That guy would be wearing my lunch, whatever I was eating.
I was thinking about that.
Who was there should probably get her foot.
This is interesting because I got to tell you, you and Mary came to mind when I was thinking about this story this morning. I mean, I can just see Mary. Oh, my. That little fireball would be right in their face, and they probably would have her plate of spaghetti hanging on their ears.
You're absolutely right. She's one tough little cookie.
I wouldn't mess with her.
Little
cookie.
I guarantee you what, that's what a lot of people have to do is stand up. And she's not even on the phone, but I can hear her saying what she would do and how she would handle it. I fear her, and I'm 30 miles away.
I mean, she's a pretty calm person until the situation arises, and then the pin comes out of the grenade.
And that's got to happen, Tony. It's got to happen because the vermin are winning, and we've got to stop it.
I know. You know, the trouble is, I think what bothers a lot of people is if they try to step up and do something, they're the ones that will end up in court.
Well, that we can't use that as an excuse not to do something because America is falling apart.
It really is. And, you know, I remember the old days we had problems in the neighborhoods, but I'll tell you what, the police stayed away because the people in the neighborhoods took care of it.
You know something? I got to tell you that when I was in college back in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and then one of my roommates was from Staten Island, New York. And one summer I went back to work with him in that area. And it's kind of funny how neighborhoods back then, they kind of took care of their own, didn't they, Tony?
Yes, they did. The police really appreciated it.
Yep. God bless you for your call, Tony. I got to run. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Calls welcome 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What would you do? I'm going to keep asking that because I want to hear some more answers on that. You're out to eat, and you're spending some of your hard-earned money to go out and enjoy an evening out with your wife, and then all of a sudden the restaurant is besieged by these punks. These punks. And they come in and they start demanding that you pledge allegiance to Black Lives Matter? What would you do? Give me a call, please. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The extremely, and it was expected, low class, no class, CNN really came out against Mr. and Mrs. McCluskey for being a part of the Republican National Convention. CNN, a lefty commie network of idiots, came out and condemned the McCluskeys and said that they had no right, listen to this, to scare the Black Lives Matter protesters with guns. Now, here you have 100 or 150 protesters that have destroyed private property, come on private property, and are telling you they're going to burn your house and kill you, and you're scared to death, but you go in the house and get a couple of guns as your last resort to protect you and your property, but you are the one that is scaring the protesters? Something's wrong with this picture. Caller, quickly before I do the weather, I'll take your call. Go ahead.
Well, they feel it's safety in numbers. We're only one person, and they'll come attack us, and there'll be hundreds of them. What do you really do?
No, wait a minute.
I would do the same thing they did.
Yes, absolutely. I couldn't quite hear what you had said. I agree with you. I wouldn't hesitate. I would make sure that my wife and myself were armed, and I would make sure that we brandished those weapons and told them in no uncertain terms they'd better get out of Dodge City and leave my property alone and us alone immediately. And if there was any further advances, I absolutely wouldn't hesitate in firing a warning shot to just get their attention so maybe they'd wake up and smell the coffee.
Well, I would wait that they got far enough in the yard that they couldn't drag him back. So they couldn't say it happened off the property. But, you know, Doug brought up something this morning that really fried my onions, and that is Ron Williams I have never liked him.
No, Doug did not. Wait a minute. Doug did not bring up Juan Williams. I did. It was my comment against Juan Williams, not Doug. I don't want Doug to take the blame for something I said.
Okay. And yesterday, you were talking about Donna Brazil. If we get them two idiots on there together, and they bring one more on, I'm through with Fox. They're supposed to be on our side.
Well, wait a minute, though. You're going to think less of me for saying this, but you got to appreciate where I'm coming from. I don't mind when they have a diverse opinion. I don't mind when they have people from both sides of the fence. I don't mind that at all. It's when Donna Brazil was asked about the RNC convention and this and that, and she turned it into a race bait. That's where I draw the line, Keith. I don't mind people with difference of opinion.
Absolutely. She started out, I've heard her on there before, and she seemed to be kind of reasonable. You know, she was leaning the wrong way, but
yeah,
she was calm. But her talking over the other guest, that is just wrong.
Well, Tammy Bruce did not, let me underline this and then I've got to run to the weather. She did not say anything that was anti-black race, anything that was anti-Donna Brazil, anything. They were talking about the presidency and they were talking about what Trump had done for blacks in his first 4 years. And Donna Brazil took that absolutely and ran with it as a race baiting and a race card, and it was very low and very irresponsible.
It certainly was, but I really like Tammy Bruce.
All right, my friend.
Like it is.
Well, I missed your call yesterday. I hope you're feeling well. God bless you, and thank you for calling this morning.
My problem, I wasn't feeling well.
Well,
I had a sinus operation on the 5th of August, and I went downhill since then.
Well, don't go downhill anymore.
Better today.
Don't go downhill anymore. Put the brakes on and stop. All right. God bless you, man. Thank you.
Would you please tell Deanne when you see her that we love her and we wish her the best?
I will pass that along, my friend. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. You take care of yourself. Thank you. Want to get the weather in? Oh, my, I got to get the weather in. I'm running late. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Yes, they can provide the cognitive health screening with the cognitive devices that you need to know about your hearing health. They have all the equipment and the knowledge. They can really help serve you. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. They're right there behind the Minidoka Memorial Hospital on the campus right there for the hospital, serving you. Call, make an appointment today at 312-0957. That number again, 312-0957. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
The air quality alert still persists for today and some more rain showers in the forecast. Here's a look at your weather. We are expecting hazy conditions, rain showers off and on, and yes, that air quality alert is still in effect. So if you have upper respiratory issues, you might want to limit your time outside. We are expecting a high of 89 tonight, isolated thunderstorms, patchy smoke as well, with a low of 57. By tomorrow, smoke will still persist in the area, high of 83 with an overnight low of 52. Hopefully by Friday, we're going to see sunny skies, nice and clear, with a high of 84, overnight low of 53. Saturday, sunny and 87, then looks like possibly 76 for Sunday. That's a look at your weather for Zeb at the Rain.
Thank you very much, Gina. And the weather brought to you by some really knowledgeable, helpful people at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. They know hearing, and they know all about hearing health. Please don't let yours diminish. Call them for a screening today at 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. All right, calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I cannot understand, and I'm 72 years old. I've been around the horn a couple of times. I cannot understand how and why, underline the last part, why Portland is allowing 90 days of violence and burning. This is absolutely insane to me. And then what happened in Seattle? You know something, folks? If you don't think it's time not to bring the hammer down, listen to this. These Seattle mobsters, these absolute worthless punks, tried to burn a police precinct building with the police inside. That's murder. Fortunately, they all got out. But to handcuff the police and absolutely tie one hand behind their back and, oh, mamby-pamby, don't touch, can't hurt little Johnny or Susie, even though they're burning and they're looting and they're absolutely degrading the city, you can't touch them. What is the matter with us? I watched the DNC convention and I thought, surely somebody's got to get on there and say, we've got to stop all this crime. We've got to make America better. Nobody. I honestly think the Democrats are enhancing this as what they call a value for them to take over the White House. I don't trust a doggone one of them. Had to clean up my language a little bit. This is ridiculous. This is America. Law and order should prevail. Equal justice for all. And the hammer better start coming down. Calls welcome, 436-2244. 1-866-927-4587. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning again. You said something right there that made me think that the police they're going in with one hand tied behind their back because of restrictions from their governors and mayors of the cities.
Yeah.
Isn't that what the last administration done to our military when they were over in Iraq trying to fight ISIS and make the world safe?
No question about it.
And look where it got them.
Yeah.
Nowhere.
I'm looking at society through some very jaded lenses right now, Doug, to the point where if we don't stop this violence, if we don't stop this burning, if we don't stop people being absolutely assaulted in restaurants and put under the guise of you better raise your fist in allegiance to Black Lives Matter or else, this has gone too far.
Wasn't there other countries in past history where they demanded that you raise your hand in solidarity, and if you didn't, then you were executed?
Gee, Doug, yes.
Yes. So, see what happens when true history is not taught to our youth because they don't know it, so they're going to repeat it. It's scary knowing what the government is drilling down these kids, putting in their minds. It's not the truth. It's what they want them to know.
Absolutely. You know, we need a cleansing. We need a great big bottle of bleach and start all over from kindergarten all the way up to the university system as to teaching pride in America, love of country, and respect for the law.
Exactly. And you don't see people leaving this country going to Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Russia, China, to fleeing to there so that they can have freedom and, become a citizen of that country.
Amen. Amen.
You see them leaving those countries, coming here because there is freedom, and these people want to take it away. I don't understand.
Well, we shouldn't have to understand. It's got to be stopped now. Thank you, Doug. God bless you, man. Thank you so much. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, our major sponsor, all 7 locations. Boy, they are good at what they do. To sum it all up as to what they do, they provide the best in service to you. The best in tires. Yep, that goes without saying. They've got all the tires, all the tread designs. They've got everything for your car, pickup, SUV, etc. So stop in and check out the tires. A lot of people don't realize, too, that they've got absolutely the best in brake service, front-end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries, all of this, but it all goes back to the best in service. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with James and Buell, Dan on Pole Line in Twin Falls, Lane and Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, the Twist family in Paul, and my buddy Trent on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, I've got 30 seconds, and I've got to cut you off real fast. Go.
Zeb, what we have is people starting a revolution, and it's dangerous.
I couldn't agree more.
Exactly what they're trying to do.
Let me ask you real quick, short answer. What would you do, or what would you ask for help in trying to get done when somebody assaulted you in a restaurant and demanded that you pledge allegiance to Black Lives Matter?
You know, I would hope, I think what we're going to have to do is our people are going to have to stand up together.
Yes.
Because the police's hands are being tied and there aren't enough of them, I think we're going to have to stand up together.
Amen. Linda, God bless you. Good to hear from you. Thank you so much.
You bet.
All right, take care. What a nice lady, and what a great singer. Got to run to the news. I'll be back in 7. Don't go away. Zeb at the Ranch. Well, good morning and welcome back on this Wednesday, August 26th already. My. Brought to you by Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the best of tires. You stop in and see them today. And, of course, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, before we go any further, let's have this good word for Western Waste. Let's have this good word.
And all across southern Idaho, we're all at the Georgia struggle. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services, you know, of course, they've got all the dumpsters in various sizes. Maybe you've had enough and you said, you know what, here it is, close to the end of summer, I'm going to clean everything. I'm going to clean out the basement. I'm going to clean out the closets. I'm going to clean out the attic. I'm going to clean out the garage. I'm going to get rid of everything. You better get a dumpster. They've got them in various sizes from Western Waste Services. Always at your disposal. Call them today. They'll drop one off. You fill it up, they'll come and get it. 734-6969. Western Waste Services. Some folks that, like I say every day, they've been with us for such a long time on this program, and I absolutely enjoy the personality of Joel Heward, his family, and his staff over at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Absolutely, with flexible hours to serve you and your family. When there's the passing of a loved one, they are there to help you. And don't forget, they always provide the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort. And always, and I want to emphasize this, always the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. They care. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Number to call, 436-5636. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Another quick note, and I got to talk to Nick Greenwell right after the program this morning. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, they are getting you back to being you. Absolutely, with all the exercises and, of course, the hydrotherapy pool. They've got it all. And they've got an excellent, and I mean this, excellent staff of caring therapists that can help you recoup from an injury or a surgery. They're there to serve you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And the number to call, make an appointment, 678-1191. It is Wednesday, and I always look forward to having my dear friend on the program from Indianapolis, Indiana, and I say good morning to Dave Bigo. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Zeb. I hope you are doing well.
Hanging on. Thank you very much for your question. I appreciate that. I want to get right into the crux of many things that are going on. And I want to start, first of all, and Sean, there's just a touch of feedback there. If you could help me a little bit, sir, thank you. I want to talk to you a little bit about what I saw and what I've read about and what I followed up on with the news of these punks. These absolute worthless punks with Black Lives Matter going into restaurants now in mass of maybe 20 or 30 people and standing around tables of patrons trying to enjoy their meal, yelling at them and spitting on their lunches and dinners and demanding that the patrons raise their fist in honor and allegiance to Black Lives Matter. This is as low as it gets, Dave Bigo.
Yes, it is, Zeb, and this is the far left. Soros and the SIU and other unions, they're the ones behind all this stuff, and they want to bring down this president, and they have the Democratic Party get the presidency and the Senate, and as I say over and over again, and people need to wake up, they want to turn this into a socialist, communist country. Without God in it.
Let me ask you, I want to get to that in just a minute, especially without God in it. I want to talk about that. But when you talk about these Black Lives Matter and these young punks, they are young punks. That's what they are. And their demands that if you don't pledge allegiance to Black Lives Matter or else, and then the burning and the looting and the total destruction in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and the Black Lives Matter stickers left on the walls as if that's a warning. You build your business again, we're going to come back and burn you out again. And then Black Lives Matter trying to burn police inside of a precinct building. Fortunately, they got out. What in the heck is the matter with us that we don't put the thumb down and the hammer down on these people?
Well, it's a democratic state, and the Democrats are afraid to do that. And, they're doing some things to lock things down a little bit, but they're not doing the full thing they should be doing to stop this stuff across the country. And, again, you look at it, the majority of it is in Democratic states, but in some Republican states where you have Democratic mayors, like we do here in Indianapolis. We haven't had a lot of the Black Lives Matter stuff going on here.
Mm-hmm. But, okay, let's just make an assumption here. What would you do if you and your wife were out to dinner and this happened to you and they were standing all around you, bending over the top of your heads, yelling and screaming at you to pledge allegiance to Black Lives Matter or else? What would you do?
I'd stand up and tell them to get out.
And then?
I would usher them out.
I like to hear that because we have to meet this force that's very, very negative and extremely liberal and very dangerous to our society. I think it's about time to meet them with force.
Well, that's what you have to do. When you have bullies, you got to stand up to them. And I don't know if you remember in my books, I talked about being bullied when I was young. In grade school, a guy, it was wintertime and it was snow out and that, and he come up and pushed me around and everything and stuff like that. And, I fell to the ground and I got up and I went over to him and I stood in front of him and I punched him in the nose and knocked him on the ground and jumped on top of him and held him down and said, "Don't do that stuff."
Yeah.
And, I'm not saying we should be violent or stuff like that, but we can't allow bullies to do what they're doing, and this is what we have across the country is a bunch of bullies.
Well, did you see the video of I felt so sad for this man, 71-year-old man that was trying to protect his business from being burned and looted, and these creeps, these worthless creeps, knocked him unconscious and left him laying on the pavement. I can't even imagine this in America.
I know, and but it's and again, it's mostly in states and cities where the Democrats have control, and they're just letting this stuff going on. And it's time for them to wake up and move back to the center and do the right things for America and for the American people.
Dave,
bow down to the far left.
Absolutely. Dave, let me ask you, in your association with various business owners and business leaders and others back in Indianapolis, did it come up in the conversations that it was so obvious? It was so obvious that the Democrats at their convention, they never once said a word against all the burning, looting, and shootings and everything else, and then nothing else was ever said about God. Can't people see what the Democratic Party really is?
I think they do, but a lot of people are afraid to stand up, Zeb, and comment about it and do things. And I think I've said this on your show before, too. You know, a guy out of Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is in the northeastern corner of Indiana, read my first book, and he came down and wanted to have breakfast with me, and he talked about my first book, and he says, Dave, I salute you for standing up to these people and doing the right things and even putting up with it, and the amount of money you spent to defend your business and your employees in this country. He says, Dave, I own a business in Fort Wayne. I have a manufacturing business, and I have to be honest with you, I don't know that I could psychologically work my way through something like that and have the backbone to stand up to it and also pay the price. And he says, I don't think 97% of the business owners in this country would.
What was your reaction when you heard that the Democrats at the convention had taken out "under God" from the Pledge of Allegiance?
I was just so sad. This is so bad what's going on in this country, and I just can't believe these people are putting up with this stuff. I think the Democrats need to rise up and push back against the left and do the right things for America.
There is something else I want to comment on, and that's the entirety of the Republican National Convention. Let me state my case, and you can please tell me if you think I'm wrong or if you agree with me. When I suffered through the amateur video of the Democratic National Convention and the negativity and the hate America and nothing is good in America, there's no opportunity in America with the Democrats, and then Monday night, turning on the Republican National Convention, holy smokes, I mean, I felt like jumping up and saying, yeah, I am so proud to live in America. I'm so proud of the opportunities. I'm so proud of what we are. I mean, the difference was day and night.
Yep, you're exactly right, and this is what Americans need to wake up to, and they need to listen and re-elect Trump because we need people that do the right things for this country and love this country and stand up for God, and we need them to do that now and get him reelected and keep the Senate, and it would really be great if we could get back the House, too.
Oh, I would relish. I would send back a T-bone steak with all the trimmings to you at your office desk if Nancy Pelosi was unemployed.
Yeah, that would be great, I'll tell you. And, it's sad when you look at the Pelosi family. Her husband has a big company, and the reason it's grown and they make as much money as they do is because she, years ago, had bills pushed through that would benefit him, kind of like a Biden scene.
Yeah. I got to ask you, this is just a burning question on my mind. Hillary Clinton. Here's a little old lady that will not go away. She will not grab the kitty cat and go sit on the rocker on the back porch and watch the robins sing. She absolutely has to stay in the middle of the fray throwing mud, and then she came out and said the idiotic statement of, well, I'm telling Joe Biden that he'd better not concede. We'll fight until we go through the courts and we win him for the presidency. What is going on here?
She is, and again, you look at the past of what her and her husband did in Alabama and that, or Arkansas. They they did things like that back then too, and that's just who they are, and they just they don't accept the policies of this country.
Did you happen to catch Nick Sandman, the young man, the teenager, that, if you'll recall the story, and I don't want to elaborate, he stood his ground, never moved, never said a word, didn't move his hands at all, when a Native American got in his face with a tom-tom after this young man and his high school group had been in a march for life, and the networks tried to belittle this young man. They tried to say that he was being denigrating to Native Americans and all this kind of garbage. Well, he ended up, long story short, winning in the courts and winning a lot of money because they found out the truth of the whole story, and the networks like CNN are really having to back water and figure out where they're going to go on this. He was at the RNC last night, and I thought, for a young man just starting college, whoa, this kid is sharp.
He did a great job, and I thought he was very professional, and he just had a, he handled himself very well, and I thought it was just tremendous.
Dave, what about the unions? Here we are. It's almost the end of August, and we're looking at September, October, and then bingo, election time. What are you hearing from the unions? What are they doing behind the scenes? What are their power plays? What's going on here?
Oh, they're, as they normally do, they're going to their membership and trying to, get them together and say, this is who you should vote for and you better vote for. And, they use it, unfortunately, intimidation tactics and bribes for their members, too. And but I think a lot of union members have woke up just like they did in 2016, and I think there's going to be more voting for Trump than normal. But the unions are still going to get a fair amount of union members to vote for Biden.
Let me ask you, and this sounds so naive and basically possibly a little bit unreasonable on my part, but they can do all the arm twisting, they can do all the threatening and everything they want, but when you step behind the curtain of that voting booth, unless they step in with you with eyes that see, how are they going to know what you voted for in the first place?
Well, that's the problem we have now, because they want all this mail-in ballots. Yep. And absentee ballots and all that kind of stuff. And the reason they do that, Zeb, is they they'll try and corral those things and change things to voting for the Democratic Party and for Biden and stuff like that. And they're doing corrupt things. And I have to tell you, even at the ballot places, and I've talked to you about this before, because back many years ago when he was running for the Senate out in Nevada.
Harry Reid?
He was down 4 or 5 points going in, but he ended up winning by 4 or 5 points, and that's because the SEIU controlled a lot of the ballot boxes out there, and they shipped people in and told them who to vote for, and a lot of the people that were managing the ballot boxes were SEIU members.
Right.
And you're going to see more of this kind of stuff again this year.
Okay, what leads me to this question. If they go to the mail-in balloting, which I'm absolutely against, I feel you should take the pride in being American, take pride in who you are, show your ID at the polls, sign your name, go behind the curtain, vote. I believe in going to the polling places. I do not believe in mail-in ballots. If you're absentee, that's one thing. That's a direct vote and ballot sent to your home and you send it back. But mail-in balloting, it can en masse be so trivialized and so demeaned and so mechanized to the point where people can cheat and you have vote harvesting and everything else. I'm scared of it, and I'm scared this election's going to be tainted.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you 100%. And we need to stay with our laws and policies over the age of this country, where people, as you say, go in and they vote in the in private and in the polling places, and that has to be done, Zeb. And I'm hoping the Republican Party gets the mail-in ballots thrown out before the election.
Absolutely. One other story that I wanted to ask you about is that in regards to Hillary and the Democrats, isn't it absolutely ridiculous and almost laughable that in 2016 she rejected the outcome of the election, and here it is 2020 and she's rejecting another election for Joe Biden? How do we get people like this to wake up and smell the coffee, or is there any hope for that whatsoever?
She'll never wake up and smell the coffee. She is who she is. And, she's part of the far left, and people need to understand that. And and those people are, unfortunately, are who they are, and they will stay who they are. We just have to stand up to them.
In sports, I wanted to get you to give us a quick comment. I have not, and I'm very honest about this, Dave, I have not watched one single NBA game. I have not watched one single Major League Baseball game, not even my Cubs. I am not going to watch any NFL games after the commissioner came out and said, "Oh, I wish we would have listened to Colin Kaepernick. Oh, we feel so bad about it." This is pathetic. What are your thoughts?
No, I agree with you, and it's even worse because I don't know if you saw, there was an article that came out today that a black sports pundit, he actually exposes how LeBron James is a bigot, going out and claiming this country is racist and going after the president and everything like that. And, James is doing that because he's part of the left. And it's nice that a black sports pundit stood up and exposed him.
Absolutely. I did not see that story, but I got to get a copy of it. If you could send it or email it to me, I would appreciate it. LeBron James is a shining example of a lack of education, literally out of high school, turning pro into the big boys world, and with the talent that God gave him, he propelled himself into being a multi-millionaire. And don't anybody tell me there's not opportunity in the United States of America.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And, people like this, unfortunately, their brain is in the wrong direction, and they've been brainwashed by the left. And even if they've done very well, they don't want to come out and say, "I've done very well because this is a great country and it's given me the chance." They want to stand on the side of the left.
I want to have you give a quick comment on the terrible happenings and occurrences in Kenosha, Wisconsin, with another black man being shot, Jacob Blake, and then last night with more of the mobsters and the rioters, 2 others were killed. I'm just going to say this, and quickly I want you to respond. Jacob Blake, they're turning him into another icon, if you will, but when you look at the man's past record of being wanted on various sex crimes and what he was doing when he walked to the pickup with a knife that they're saying was in his hand and the possibility of a gun in the car, let's not give judgment until all the facts are in. Would you agree with that?
Well, yeah, I think we need to look at it all, but I still think our police need to be a little more careful too, Zeb. I think some of them, and I can understand it because they're afraid for their own lives too. And but yeah, we need to get the total information of what went on here first.
In the other words, all I'm saying is let's not have a rush to judgment and absolutely condemn one side of the story without knowing all the facts.
Right.
All right.
I agree with you.
Dave, thank you for being a friend, and thank you for being on the program. I really appreciate it, and the very best to you and your family. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and prayers for you and your wife.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. God bless. Dave Bego, author and extremely, very, very well-known businessman, and I have the utmost respect for what he is and what he's done. Absolutely. I want to remind you, too, about Denny's Restaurant. We are not We are not going to have lunch bunch tomorrow due to the fact that my wife is in the hospital, and so we will have to postpone till the next time of lunch bunch at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. And, of course, you can stop in anytime and all the time for the very best of menu choices for breakfast, lunch, dinner, all the desserts, everything. And along with the delicious food, really, really nice people serving you. They care at America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant. Once again, locations at 611 North Overland in Burley and 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant. Want to also mention to you about our friends over at Let's Ride. Get your motor running. I mean, get out of the smoke and get out of the valley and get up on a hill someplace with all the side-by-sides and the four-wheelers. Oh, yeah, they've got all the fun over there in their showroom. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 2, and they're located at 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. And besides that, absolutely all the accessories and a super service department to keep you running. Let's Ride, where the fun is sold. You stop over and see those good folks today. Before we go to our next guest, and I'm really looking forward to having this man on my program, I also want to mention somebody else over in the Rupert area, right on the curve as you go into Rupert, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Number to call, 436-4424. Why should you call? Well, it's simple. You want to make sure you're protected with the best of life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, and employee benefits. They are dedicated and very devoted to serving you. Please call 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. I feel very, very fortunate that I've made the acquaintance of this next gentleman because he really knows about the Old West. And that's kind of a hobby of mine, the Old West and how it was, how it really was. And I'm going to talk right now to a man that knows all about the transportation in the Old West. And that's my dear friend Ray Bagby. How are you, Ray?
Well, I'm old and fat and stupid, but how are you this morning?
Well, I don't think I can do better than that.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you having me on your program.
Well, Ray, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the Old West and how we've talked about this before, so we're not plowing a new furrow here, but we've talked about the Old West and some of the ways that Hollywood has absolutely destroyed the truth. And I want to start, and we'll kind of go from there on the stagecoaches. You know, the movies and the TV shows like Tales of Wells Fargo with my friend Dale Robertson, and then even like in the John Wayne movie, The War Wagon. I mean, they had those horses at a full lope all the time, pulling a heavy vehicle. I mean, tell us the truth. That didn't happen, did it?
Well, absolutely not. As you well know, a horse can't go at a dead run or say a lope pulling that 3,000-pound coach. But those, and I've tried to study it, but if the terrain was right and a flat road, and they'd put them into a long trot if they could, and they'd have to slow and let them blow a little. But these way stations was from 10 to 20 miles apart, and those drivers, they knew how to handle their teams, that's for certain. But to run them like they show on TV, why, they'd be dead in a half mile. You just can't do that. And there's one other pet peeve that I can't stand, and that's to see some of these cowboys on these shows, and they swing into their saddle in 1886 with a padded seat. And I just shut it off.
You know, the realism of the movies and TV, I am so glad you brought that up. One of the most famous TV series that was on television ever for Westerns was Bonanza. And that was the most fraudulent, absolutely ridiculous portrayal of the Old West that I've ever seen.
It sure was. It was supposed to be in 1869, but all their weapons were Colt single-action .45s that didn't come out till 1871. So they didn't have a cartridge belt, but they'd shoot, and then if they did reload, which is very seldom, they had a few rounds in their pocket. And 3-seat saddles. I just couldn't stand it.
You know, why can't they take the time? And I think while we're complaining about this, we also should give credit to certain movies that took the time to understand the realism. I'm going to name one, and if you don't agree with me, tell me. I think one of the most honest portrayals of equipment and how things were was the movie, the miniseries, Lonesome Dove.
Oh, there's no doubt about it, yeah. And it was great, too, the way they talked and acted and the equipment. And there's one other newer movie that they rode those high backs, and their gun belts, instead of just hanging halfway to the knee, the holster was over the belt. And that was Monty Walsh with Tom Selleck.
You know, right there.
It was an excellent show.
You know, right there I want to comment because, Ray, you're spot on. I mean, I can tell you know what you're talking about because Tom Selleck was interviewed by Western Horseman magazine a couple of years back. And it was when he was making the various movies, like he had Wilford Brimley on and Crossfire Trail and some of those other ones. And he said in the magazine that his main goal as the production manager and owner of those films, that he wanted to make all the equipment, all the guns, all the clothing, everything exactly as it was during that time period.
Well, I wish I could have read that article, but he sure done a good job of it.
But why do you suppose Hollywood, and I'm going to blame one of my favorite people, John Wayne. I wished we had more John Waynes today. But, I mean, what he did in his movies and how things were portrayed, that's not the way it really was.
There was some things, you know, but, of course, in my eyes, John Wayne never done anything wrong. But his crowning climax of all his movies was True Grit, when the trading post operator was named Bagby.
There you go. That's right. That's right. I forgot about that. But, you know, when it came to the real West and the real stagecoaches and the real horses that were pulling them and the overland wagons that they used and everything, wow, they had to be some pretty smart people, and they had to build some pretty tough products.
Oh, that's for certain. And, of course, I started tinkering with wagons back in 1981 and evolved, and then in the year 2000 is when I started this stagecoach. And I've done every bit of research I could. And actually, me and Richard, and there was some other guys that helped, Bill and Clint and a few, but we built this coach as close as absolute possible as we could to the old ones.
Mm-hmm.
But Zeb, some of these in these shows are plastic coach, well, fiberglass.
Oh.
And then instead of those steam bent panels on the side, they're molded fiberglass, and then they just stick these sticks on the side. And sometimes it just makes me and Richard sick, and we laugh to look at one. But it's made to use, maybe to tip over, maybe to tear up, and I can see why they wouldn't want to tear up one of these that's built right. But sometimes it's sickening.
When you see these portrayals of like stagecoaches and or buckboards or buggies or whatever, like in the old TV series Gunsmoke, let me give a little credit there somewhat to Gunsmoke. Back in the 60s, I thought that they had more realism as to what was instead of a lot of the newer films and series. Would you agree or not?
Oh, you bet. And of course, I'm retired now, don't do nothing, but I watch every old Gunsmoke I can. But when we first got a TV in 1955 and Gunsmoke come on, they were family to us.
Yeah.
Them people that was in there, the way they dressed, how horrible they looked, some of them, that was the way it was, absolutely.
I want to talk about travel on the stagecoaches in just a minute, but we've got a caller. Let's take that call. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning to you, Zeb, and to your guest, who is one of the best depiction of the West that I've heard in a long time. But to get to the point, Ray, what are you going to do with the with the stagecoach when you were no longer here?
Well, let's hope let's not rush things, but go ahead, Ray.
You got a good point there. I'm not sure right now. Now, Dallas Stoller built a mud wagon, which was a lighter wagon, not a Concorde, but he donated it to the museum in Rupert. I've had some offers to sell this one for some pretty good money, but I just ain't quite got the nerve yet to sell it. So, Keith, I'm not sure what to do yet.
Well, you are the best when it comes to the West.
Well, thank you, Keith. We appreciate that. Thank you for your call, Keith. Appreciate it. You know, Keith brings up a really good point. Tell everybody from the get-go, when you got the idea to build this stagecoach, I've got a picture right here on my desk of your stagecoach. How long did it take from the idea and the actual starting till the finish?
Okay, well, back in 1985, I started researching and got plans from the Smithsonian Institute for an 1848 coach, and then another book from a gentleman in California. And then I found out they revised it about 1886. So that's what we modeled this one after.
Uh-huh.
So I actually started getting the timbers and the steel axles for this in the year 2000.
Wow.
And we finished it in 2011.
Oh, my goodness.
Of course, we never worked on it straight, every day. It was hit and miss, and me and Richard would lay the reaches and whatnot in the wheels, and so we put in about 10 years of getting it built.
Well, let me ask you this, Ray. With all the time and the effort that you put into the stagecoach, I would imagine that you probably had to go to all your research almost daily to make sure that you were absolutely spot on as to what it was really like. Is that true?
Oh, that's absolutely true. And then there is so much iron, blacksmith iron in this that we hammered with a hammer in my forge. And a bunch of them had to be identical, and there's quite a few pieces of iron in my iron pile. And, of course, the wood, when I foul up something with the wood, it just went in the stove, so you don't see all them mistakes. But it took a lot to make everything as close as we could.
When the travelers got on a stagecoach, regardless of whether it was in Dallas, Texas, or whether it was anywhere in the West, what was travel like, honestly, for the travelers inside that stagecoach?
Well, I've read a lot of books, and one, Mrs. Strayhorn wrote one, 15,000 Miles by Stage. And let's say it was like today, and it rained, and a flat road, no dust, and it could just be plumb comfortable. But some of those roads in August, the flour dust was a foot deep. They couldn't see each other. And one time, Mrs. Strayhorn got out with her husband, and she didn't know which one was her husband because they all looked the same from the dust. And the way stations, they just change teams, and the people get out, maybe get a drink of water or whatnot, and head out. But it wasn't comfortable packed in there, with sometimes the guys didn't shower 3 times a day, and it was a little tough. And they stopped at one stage stop and got off, and this guy come out, and he's big old beard with cuckleburrs in it and stained with tobacco, and he looked like a wild man. So they went in and had some old greasy meat and some cold beans, and the one passenger said, "This is kind of dirty, ain't it?" And the guy said, "My good man, the good book says that every man should eat a peck of dirt in his lifetime." And the pastor said, "My good man, I didn't want to eat all mine at one sitting." Mrs. Trotter up here in the City of Rocks was something else. They said she was just immaculate, had a cook and tablecloths, and she was a wonderful person. But a lot of it was tough duty.
Well, you know, how many people, along with the driver, actually rode on a stage? Let's assume that we're coming from, let's say Albion down to Burley and then to possibly heading up to Boise, whatever the stage route was. How many people bought tickets to ride on a stage?
Well, let's say a basic Concorde like mine would haul 9 inside. As a driver, and if he didn't have a shotgun guard, they'd pile 2 more people up there.
Oh, my.
And according to these pictures, even some guys laying on top on the luggage, the more passengers they could pile on there, the better. So, let's say average 12 people probably.
So basically they're going, you said, between 15 and possibly even longer to 20 miles to another change of horses at the next stage line. That's a lot of weight for those horses to be pulling. How many did they use, 4 or 6 team hitch?
Well, the absolute perfect hitch was 6. They would make do on different places, of course, and on the train, but they wanted to hitch up 6 every time. And, of course, these horses, Gilmer and Salisbury was the big company, and Jack Gilmer and the Salisbury brothers had their own horse ranch. And they bred up between the Morgan and the Thoroughbred. Mm-hmm. And that cross there gave them a real excellent horse, maybe 1,200 pounds, maybe 11. But they had a lot of stamina, a lot of strength, and they were the perfect horse.
But they're pulling with all the people and the baggage and the coach. How much weight were they pulling sometimes?
Well, we need to weigh mine, but according to the books, between 2,500 to 3,000 pounds for the vehicle.
Oh, my.
And then if you got 10 people, that's 1,500 pounds. So, say you're looking at over 4,500 pounds, which is a pretty good load.
Oh, my. And then to think...
If you got some mud, if you got some snow, or uphill or whatnot, it was hard pulling.
Well, what about, you mentioned during the rain and the dust and everything, but what about in the wintertime? I can't imagine how doggone cold it was being in a stagecoach.
Yeah, well, this coach, there's a window that slides down in the door. You pull that up, and then you roll down the curtains. Maybe the snow wouldn't drift in there, but and 6 to 9 people packed in there, but your feet would freeze plumb off.
Well, now you said...
That poor driver up there, of course, he was handling the lines, but there's nothing colder on your fingers feeding with a feed team than the lines or a pitchfork handle.
Absolutely.
So it was anything but comfortable. It just couldn't have been anything close to being comfortable.
Well, explain to me a little bit the interior of the coach, because you said 9 people inside. So I've got a mental picture of 3 up against this wall, 3 up against this wall. So you're telling me that 3 had to jockey for positions on somewhat of a little casing in the middle of the floor? What was it like?
Exactly. There was a seat in the middle with no back to it, and each end folded up so that people could load 3 and 3, and then 3 sat in the middle with no back to lean against or anything, and that was the 9 inside.
Wow.
But other than that, and ours is done that way too, the interior is done with material. The seats are soft and comfortable, the backs are built right, but the people that had to ride on that jump seat in the middle is just absolute torture.
Well, now, I've been on a stagecoach. I think I showed you a picture of me on the Binion stage back in Oklahoma City inside the Coliseum. And I got to tell you, I'm sitting in the shotgun seat, and when they took off and put that stage and horse team pulling that stage into a maneuver at a high lope, and they made those circles, you have never seen a fat man with a death grip on the ironwork on that seat like I had. I absolutely didn't feel like I was going to stay up there.
Well, I can understand that. The last 2 years I've rode quite a lot on this one, but at a long trot is the fast we win. But to make a sharp turn and that in the lope, I'd have pulled the seat apart, I'm afraid.
Well, I was holding a microphone
7 feet off the ground.
Yeah, I was holding a microphone, and they wanted me to do a little play-by-play as Scott, the driver, was putting the stagecoach through some of the maneuvers. Now, I'd like to ask anybody in the audience if they would feel comfortable holding one microphone in one hand and trying to hang on with the other. That ain't going to happen, Ray, and they certainly didn't get any play-by-play.
Well, what was it? Just,
That's right. But inside the coach, there were a lot of screams, too, so evidently it's not all smooth sailing inside the coach.
Now, of course, it's mounted on those leather throw braces, and they sway and swing, and then there's a leather strap on each side so it can't go too high, but I can see where you hit a corner at a lope, it would get a little side view on it.
Absolutely. Let me ask you a little bit about the personnel that worked for the stage companies, the drivers, and also the shotgun guards. I mean, does our Western heritage really, is it depicting what the shotgun guards did and how they dressed? I mean, talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay, well, I've read so much about it, not that I know anything, but just reading it. But now Gilmer and Salisbury was one of the best companies that ever run. They had over 6,000 miles of coaches there in the late 70s. And they had their chief of security was a man named Scott Quickshot Davis, they called him, and a man named X Beadler, and two guys, their last name was Nate. These guys rode for the iron. Now, when they rode shotgun, there was no give. And unfortunately, one of Jack Gilmer's best drivers was a man named Johnny Slaughter. And you probably heard of his dad, who was a sheriff in Texas.
Yes. Yes.
John Slaughter, the sheriff.
Yes.
Well, this outlaw, whether it was an accident or whatever, shot him. When he said, "Whoa, throw down the box," he just killed him anyway. Well, they sent these posse after him, and this McKenna that did it, that killed him, some vigilantes in Montana caught him later, and he got tangled up in some rope and choked to death. I don't know how it happened, but these shotgun guards were tough guys, and the drivers were just, to handle those 6 ribbons in that cold weather, and you always got to gather your lines, they're pulling on you. They were tough men and good men.
Absolutely. I've got time for one quick call. Caller, quickly, you're on the air, please. Oh, they hung up. Ray, I hope that you will consent to coming back on the program, and maybe we can talk more about the real West instead of Hollywood, and talk about the guns, and talk real quick. What did a ticket cost on a stage line, let's say to go 20, 30, 50 miles? What did they charge the people?
Well, let's say Kelton to Minidoka, I read, was $27.
Oh, my.
Now the Overland from Omaha to San Francisco, and Butterfield was running that, it was around $200 for that 1,200 miles, whatever it was.
Wow.
So, and your short runs, whatnot, but I should look that up and have a pretty good list of that, but I just can't answer completely right now.
Would you please come back in the future?
On one condition, that you come by and see me one of these days.
You got it, buddy. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you talking about the Old West. Ray Bagby from Over to Declo, God bless you, man, and thanks so much for being on the program.
Thank you for having me, and we'll see you.
All right. Bye. I needed that this morning to get away from all the other news and everything. Ray was absolutely excellent. The Old West as it really was. Time for the weather. Actually, it's way past time, Zeb. The weather brought to you by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, and they are the professionals. When it comes to accounting services, they've been doing this for well over 50 years. They are the best. Tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, bookkeeping services, retirement planning, all of this and so much more. And they've got excellent people serving you They're the professionals at Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company in Burley and Rupert. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
The air quality alert still persists for today and some more rain showers in the forecast. Here's a look at your weather. We are expecting hazy conditions, rain showers off and on, and yes, that air quality alert is still in effect. So if you have upper respiratory issues, you might want to limit your time outside. We are expecting a high of 89 tonight, isolated thunderstorms, patchy smoke as well, with a low of 57. By tomorrow, smoke will still persist in the area, high of 83 with an overnight low of 52. Hopefully by Friday, we're going to see sunny skies, nice and clear with a high of 84, overnight low of 53. Saturday, sunny and 87, then looks like possibly 76 for Sunday. That's a look at your weather for Zebeth.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Gina. And the weather brought to you by the professionals, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company. And believe me, if you're starting a business or maybe changing over to a corporation or wanting to expand your business or you need help with your family business, they help everybody. You be sure and get a hold of them today with offices at 1710 Overland and Burley and 620 5th Street in Rupert. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company. I've got time for one more quick call. Give me a jingle on the landline. And while I'm waiting for your call, I want to remind you, too, about Patterson's Electronics. Every day I tell you how great these people are. And they are. They know all about electronics. I mean, they can leave me in the dust. They know everything. And I really have a lot of questions. They've got all the monster cables and the power cords, and they've got all the home theater systems and the video surveillance cameras and the car stereos and speakers. Take a breath, Zeb. Complete sound systems, all the TVs by Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, LG TVs. What a selection! And they're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6, and they're closed on Sundays. They need a day of rest. They are the best. Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main in Burley. Caller, you're on the air. Quickly, go ahead. I got 1 minute.
Yes. You know, my heart goes out to Deanne because she's used to being around a lot of action. You got to admit to that, don't you?
Well, absolutely, yes.
And, you know, just to lay there on a hospital bed and not have anybody to talk to or anything, you can watch TV, but, you know, it's not worth anything.
Well, hopefully, with God's healing grace, we can get her out of there before too long, and I appreciate your comments. I talked to her at least. Our phone bill's probably about like the national budget. I call her at least 10, 12 times a day, so Keith, I appreciate it. You and Nancy take care of yourself. I've got to run to the news from CBS. I appreciate it.
Well, I do have Deanne's number, but I will not call.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I'll tell her that you did ask about her, though, and thank you so much.
You bet.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Going to run to the news? No, I'm not going to run. I don't run for anything. We're going to just kind of tippy-toe to the news. I'll be back in 7. Oh, welcome back. Here we go. The old music playing in the background, Zeb at the Ranch, and of course brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with a very safe, clean environment, and of course the best in tires. Along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. I want to also reiterate what we say every day at this time about a beautiful place for seniors to live. Seniors, listen to me, please. I'm sucking on a cough drop, so bear with me, folks. The smoke's got my throat. Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Absolutely a beautiful 12-bedroom home for seniors to live with their friends and enjoy 3 meals a day plus snacks, housekeeping, and local transportation, all included in the rent. I urge you, stand by. I love hay fever season. I urge you to give them a call, Matt and Kelly Wiggins at 650-4979, and let them tell you all about the beautiful Greystone Crossing Senior Living. The number again, 650-4979. Maybe we can get through this commercial. I'll try. I'm sorry, folks. It's the way the summer goes. Once again, Greystone Crossing, Senior Living, 650-4979. You call those good folks today. Excuse me. Terrible to have that happen on the air, but it happens to all of us. 7K Metals is also a great operation I want to talk to you about as regards to helping yourself build your financial security and your future. It's a great saving opportunity for you and a valued treasure for your loved ones in the future. How do you find out about silver purchases that can be sent right to your home? You get a hold of Lon Hardy at 312-8699 or Sharon Wilmot at 430-3259 and tell them I told you to call. Really nice people, and they can help you create your own security bank with silver purchases from 7K Metals. Wow. I mean to tell you, I thought maybe we were going to have to call in the National Guard. I was not doing so well there for a few minutes. The old cough drop caused more trouble than it was worth. Right now, let's go to the phone line. And I had this gentleman on my program a couple of weeks ago, and I invited him to come back. And one thing in his information sheet that I'm going to correct, it says Cordy Williams is a former Marine. And as far as I know, nobody ever is a former Marine. They're always a Marine. Good morning, Dr. Williams. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Zeb. How are you? It's an honor to be on the show today.
Well, I apologize. I was coughing and hacking a few minutes ago because I stuck a cough drop in my mouth, and it did more harm than good. So it's really good to be able to say something without having to turn off the microphone. I'm so glad you're on the program.
I can relate to that, brother.
Well, I appreciate it. Let me ask you a little bit about what we're living in right now. We're living in a society to where government and dictates from the government and dictates from medical science and people involved in it are telling us thou shalt do this or else. And they're making mandates, etc., with the mask and how we live our life. What are your thoughts about this, Dr. Williams?
Well, I think whenever government starts to get in the way of freedom and starts to really honestly, you know, God bestowed us these freedoms, and it's like breathing air. And when government starts to overrule God, and those God-given liberties that are endowed by our Creator, you know, that's when patriots need to rise up. And I'm not inciting violence, but I am inciting peaceful protest, and I am inciting, you know, political action, action in the courts. I mean, we've probably got, I think, 22 different lawsuits against Adolf Newsom in the state of California, and I call him Adolf Newsom not because he's, you know, I make that because, you know, they took away medical freedoms in California, and he signed off on it. Mm-hmm. So, you know, from a tyrannical regime dictator, you know, just lowly human being standpoint, I can't think of a more fitting name than Adolf, because there are babies and small children that he's killing, in my opinion, you know, and he's killing California. And so I think, you know, when government starts to overreach on those God-given liberties, that's when patriots need to rise up.
Dr. Williams, and I hope you don't mind if I call you Cordy. I feel like you're a real friend on this program to give us information. But the COVID-19, I mean, really, how much do you know about it? How much do I know about it? How much does the general public know about it? I mean, there seems to be a ton of information out there, but really, down to the brass tacks, nobody really knows too much about it.
No, and that's the key word there. I mean, there are statements and rhetoric all over the place, and then those statements are walked back, and this story's changed, and then it did this, and then it didn't, and then sunlight could kill it, and then it couldn't, and then 6 feet. You know, bottom line is you just have to kind of use common sense. We've had viruses and germs and infections since the beginning of mankind. And even when you look at the stats of the 1918 Spanish flu, and you look at how many people died and what they did to combat it versus what they didn't do to combat it, we've never worn facial condoms, right? And I say that to kind of make people laugh, because think about how ludicrous it is that we wear something on our mouth, we lift it up when we eat, and then we put it back down as if the virus is taking a time out and going to the sidelines, during the Super Bowl and getting some Gatorade.
Mm-hmm.
That virus doesn't stop. So that virus is germs are constantly infecting your body. And the number one thing that you can do to combat a virus is not wear a facial condom or a covering over your face, which the research has shown that's actually counterintuitive for your health. It'll cause hypoxia, creates long-term lung tissue damage, right? We've never done that in the history of mankind. We've never said that 6 feet, that's the magical number. There's no peer-reviewed research to show that 6 feet works to combat a virus. We've never done that in the history of mankind. And all of a sudden we're doing that. So we're basically saying that this God-given system of intelligence we have in our body, called our immune system, that is this weak, fragile thing. For the first time in history, we're not going to trust that. We're not going to build up our system. And, when you kind of look under the bed sheets of this whole thing, it reeks of impropriety, because of, if you know anything about what the drug companies out there, how they profit and what their profit margins are on different drugs, there's a really nasty stench to this whole thing. And I'm not saying people haven't died. I'm not saying the disease or the infection or the virus itself isn't legitimate. It is. The way we're combating it, dealing with it, and driving the economy into the ground, from the get-go and the start of this thing, it just smells. It does not pass the sniff test. And so you've got a God-given immune system that works when your brain can communicate with your spinal cord and your spinal cord can communicate with your nerves. And I've never worried about COVID in my entire life. I have, water that is purified in my house. I know how many chemicals are in the bed I sleep on. I do smoothies every day. I eat organic food. But what do? Well, I had a nice little tasty last night. I had a Davidoff cigar, and I had a shot of bourbon last night, right? Not good for my immune system. But what am I doing 90% of the time? I'm strengthening my immune system. And I've been around thousands of people all over the country. If anybody was going to get COVID, it would have been me. And so the immune system is the key. And that's what people need to understand. We need to be preventative, and we need to be reactive instead of retroactive.
Absolutely. I would add a word to your phraseology that you used a few moments ago, and I would say, along with the word stench, I would preface it by saying political stench. Would you agree?
100%. 100%. If the libs are in power right now, and the Dems are in power, if we are having this conversation, it was for a short period of time, and it would have passed by now, or we're not having this conversation at all. If Hussein's still in power, we're potentially not having this conversation at all. This is all a political scam, in my opinion, the extent of which it's being handled. And you can see, look at the blue state governors. Look at Cuomo. Look at Adolph Newsom. Look at how those are the slowest cities and states to open up, and look at how much they profited off of this. Look at how President Trump was telling Adolph Newsom, to get the fires in order for years. And yet California has no plan of action related to forest fires. You can't have that much bad luck, right, and be a state official or a person in leadership or power and never have a plan. Year after year, month after month, and they just constantly dig into federal money because the state of California can't balance their budget. They can't manage their funds, and it's ridiculous. And now they always want mommy and daddy to save them. They always want the federal government to bail them out.
Let me ask you this, Cordy, and I've got a little bit of feedback on the line. Sean over at the studio, if you could help me a little bit. Let me ask you about the upcoming election. I want to talk to you about Biden, and I want to talk to you about Harris. And I want to talk to you about the left really trying to push perhaps for another complete lockdown from sea to shining sea in this country if Biden wins the election. What are your thoughts?
Well, sleepy, creepy Uncle Joe, if he gets in, God help us, first of all, Kamala is a train wreck, and she shouldn't even be allowed to run for vice president because the crooked thing she's done. Her and Hillary should have a summer vacation home together because her and crooked Hillary, they need to be behind bars. I think all your viewers would agree with me about that. The stuff they've done to this country, it's disgraceful. As far as locking things down from the East Coast to the West Coast, there's only one reason why any person that holds a political office would do that, and that's to get control of the population, to create communism and a socialist state. I mean, that's the only reason. And they've done that. The Democrats have done that with this unemployment, the length that the unemployment went on, how much it was, how much the incentive was. I mean, Zeb, it's impossible to hire somebody. I mean, I literally had to ad out for 6 weeks for my practice. And I mean, maybe we'd get 20 to 50 bites in the past. Maybe we had, 3 people, 4 people apply. So people are not motivated to work. When you take the incentive to work, when you take that off the table, why am I going to go out and get a job if I make $60,000 watching reruns of Netflix?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, it just doesn't make sense for the average worker. So I think it's all about control. It's all to create dependency upon government, and I think it'll crush the economy.
Absolutely. Cordy, we've got a call with one of our listeners and a question. Go ahead, caller, please. You're on the air.
Actually, it's a comment. I'll be an expert in anything if you pay me enough.
Okay. And that's what you think is happening.
Experts they have on all this stuff, it makes me wonder, because when did Bill Gates go to medical school and get a degree as a doctor to be telling us medical things?
Amen.
When has the governor of the state of Idaho gone to school to become a doctor to tell us things that are medical, what our doctor can prescribe to us and what he can't?
Excellent point, and I'm going to have Cordy respond over the air. Go ahead. Thank you very much, caller. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate that young lady saying that because it's so true. A guy that's a computer geek and has sat behind a computer for 30 years of his life, now he's dictating health policy, and he's the guy that people listen to. It's ridiculous, right? It's ridiculous, and I don't. My whole thing. I mean, my kids have never been vaccinated. My kids have been chiropractically adjusted since they were 2 seconds old, and some people call me crazy, but my kids are 2 and 4 years old. They were born at home. They've never had any infection. They've had fevers that maybe last an hour, and then they work past the fever naturally. Okay, but yet when I was a kid, I had 24 doses of vaccines, and now it's 72. And I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I'm an anti-freedom person. Okay, meaning for you to take away and say that it's okay for you to take away my medical right to say I don't want my kids to have this, for you to take my freedoms as a parent away and say, or even my freedoms as a Christian. And in the state of California, Adolf Newsom and Richard Pan have done that. They've taken away that freedom, that medical freedom. So I'm a freedom guy. And anybody that wants to take that freedom away, I'm always going to be completely against that. And that's what Bill Gates is doing.
Absolutely.
That's what he's doing. He's trying to take that away from people. And I don't know how guys like that became the authority, or even these pseudo-authorities you see out there on planes, the flight attendants. But now they're qualified by OSHA, I guess, to properly fit somebody for a PPE or a mask. I mean, it's ridiculous. There's so many federal OSHA guidelines we're violating, and then as your viewer said, or your listener said, now the governors are all of a sudden, these overweight governors popping out of their suits are all of a sudden experts on health. Ridiculous.
Cordy, let me just say this statement. I think you'll agree with me. Congressman Jim Jordan said it the best the other evening. The Democrats will not allow us to go to church. The Democrats don't want our kids to go to school, but they encourage everybody to go riot in the evening.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I know this, Zeb, our president's having to walk a line right now.
Right.
But I can't wait till November 5th when I hope to God on November 5th he gets the Insurrection Act going and we get some Marines in every city where this is going, and they just go Semper Fi on the entire city.
I couldn't agree more.
And they shut it down and they get law and order established again.
I agree.
This is, it's disgusting to me that I saw somebody get shot in the head. I saw something on Facebook or Facebook, Instagram, something where somebody got shot in the head. And total anarchy. And it's being allowed and supported by our politicians. And these idiot liberals are condoning it, and our children are watching.
Yes.
It's disgusting.
Absolutely. We've got a call. I've got time for one more quick call. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Well, these governors, I hope that the people have realized what they have got in California, Washington, Oregon, and even Idaho in some respects. And so it scares me that, the CDC has been bullying the feds. CDC has been bullying the governors. And, of course, I think some of these governors have something to gain from it, whether that's to get rid of Trump or something else. And then, of course, on vaccinations, there's a basic vaccinations. Let's say there was 10 or something. And I think that that's very necessary. And I know Zeb here, the host, is very concerned about people who don't vaccinate. Well, I think there's an understandable amount of vaccination that needs to be done, but when you get 72, we lose track of what the hell it's for and what good it has done, and is it probably in some cases doing more damage to these infants, and maybe, just maybe, there is some autism coming from some of this vaccinations that come so early. I'll hang up.
I want to respond quickly to the caller before I send it back to you, Cordy, and I want to verify and clarify my stand on this. I am adamant for the inoculations for polio and some of the hideous diseases like measles. I am adamant because I had polio, and I know the atrocities that can be caused by having that dreaded disease that is rearing its head again in various countries, including Mexico, a neighboring country to the United States. That's why I'm a very strong advocate for the Salk vaccine and the betterment of it to stop and curtail poliomyelitis from taking over another national scourge like it did back in the early 50s and 60s.
Well, and what I'd say to that, Zeb, is I'm not, whatever people want to do, that's their choice. And that's the whole thing that my organization, 1776 Forever Free, is about.
I understand.
Freedom Tour that we're about to launch around the United States. We want people to be able to choose, okay? If you want to vaccinate, great, vaccinate. But don't tell me the minute the government starts to overreach and dictate medical freedom and medical policy towards its people, that's when we have a tyrannical regime, that's when we have a communist regime, and that's when we might as well just flush the Constitution of the United States down the toilet. Something I've always inherently believed is if a vaccine works, any vaccine, if it works, if you're vaccinated, then you shouldn't, if your vaccine works, then you shouldn't worry about me being vaccinated. And I just say that from a medical freedom standpoint.
We could go on and on about this issue and
which one, like do it, but I think that we should all have the right to choose, and that's what I've always kind of stood behind. Like, hey, we're Americans. We should be able to pick and choose.
I've got time for one more quick call. I've got 2 minutes left. Caller, make it short and sweet. Go ahead, please.
Yes, before anybody says that we should all accept our vaccinations without question, they should all read The Plague of Corruption, Restoring Faith in the Promise of Science by Dr. Judy Nikovite. Excellent book.
All right, sir. I appreciate that. I wished I had another half hour to go into this with you, Cordy, and we could go back and forth on my philosophy, but you're the guest, and I'll save that for another time to have you on, and we'll just talk about my situation versus yours. But I want to tell you how much I appreciate your coming on the program, and you're going to get a call from me to come back.
Well, Zeb, I really appreciate it, and just real quickly, I just wanted to say, That gentleman that called in, Dr. Judy, is amazing. I had coffee with her about 2 weeks ago. Anybody that wants science or research, she went to MIT. Del Bigtree is another really good one. Just on this issue, on both sides of the issue, go to thefreedomtourusa.com. We'll be hitting Missouri, Colorado. We'll be hitting Sacramento, and then we'll be hitting Florida and D.C. over the next 6 weeks. And you can go there to 1776foreverfree.com, purchase a Freedom Fighter T-shirt, and follow us at our 1776 Freedom Fighters Facebook page. We'd love anybody's support, $1, $3, or those T-shirts all go towards us getting Donald Trump back in the White House and moving the needle on freedom.
All right. I really appreciate your time this morning, Dr. Cordy I almost said Wilson. I'm sorry. Dr. Cordy Williams. And God bless you, and come back soon. I'll be in touch. Thank you so much.
All right, Zeb. Semper Fi. Have a blessed day.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Same right back at you. We had a lot of feedback on that call, and I was having some hard times hearing him, so I apologize for that. And I've got one more good word before we send it over to our main studio. And, of course, I'm going to talk about Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland in Burley. You need a good night's sleep? Boy, I could stand one myself. Simmons Beauty Rest Mattresses, all the mattresses. They've got a great big array and assortment of mattresses over at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. And they've got the largest selection of floor coverings around, all the carpet, all the vinyl, everything. You better get in and check it out. And you want to sit back and just kind of relax a little bit? Oh, they've got all the recliners. They've got a selection of recliners that'll knock your boots off. Absolutely amazing. All of this at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see these really, really nice people today. Right now, we're going to get ready in a few minutes to have a dear friend of mine, Gregory Wrightstone, talking about climate change and his book, Inconvenient Facts, and all of that in just about 3 minutes. But I'm, first of all, going to send it back over to the studio, and we will be back shortly.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
Oh, thank you. Last half hour. And don't forget the urgent cares. Riverview Urgent Care in Burley on Overland Avenue, Twin Falls Urgent Care on Addison Avenue East, and, of course, Urgent Care of Jerome on West Avenue A. They are offering sports physicals for your high school students, $10, that's all. They were regularly $20, but listen, here's the other part of it. All the money for the sports physicals will be donated right back to your school's athletic program. Wow, you better stop in. No appointments necessary. Stop in before the end of August at Riverview Urgent Care on Overland Avenue in Burley, Twin Falls Urgent Care on Addison Avenue East, and Urgent Care of Jerome, West Avenue A in Jerome. $10 sports physicals, and the money goes right back to your high school athletic program. Right now, it's been way too long, and I don't know why. I guess we got all wrapped up in our scheduling, but we haven't had this man on my show for quite a period of time, and I look forward to visiting with him. And that's, of course, the author of Inconvenient Facts, Gregory Wrightstone. Sir, how are you?
Oh, good. It's always good to be back at the ranch with Zeb. I always enjoy that.
Well, you are a very...
Thanks for having me back on today. It's been a while. Lots to go over.
You're a very special guest because you tell it like it is. And I'm going to start this thing off by saying that after watching the Democratic National Convention and listening to the likes of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and others that want to just basically hamstring us with a lack of energy and turn us into a micro-mobility society, I'm scared. What have you got to offer as far as what they're trying to do?
Oh, boy. I can't give you any comfort if he wins. I just cannot. He's put AOC in charge of his climate change proposals. She's really, really strong opponent of fracking. Joe Biden in one of the debates stated that he would ban fracking if he was elected, and you know what that's going to do. We just cannot. We because of fracking, the United States is now a net exporter of energy. We had always depended. We fought wars. Thousands of our brave soldiers, men and women, died to protect the Saudi Arabian oil fields. We don't have to do that anymore, and it's because of fracking. And she wants to take us away from that. And what they want to do, too, they want to replace, they think they can make electricity using wind and solar, not realizing that each wind and solar facility has to have an equal amount of fossil-fueled or nuclear or hydro backup behind each one of that. For each megawatt that's generated by wind or solar has to have an equal amount of mainly fossil fuel-fired electricity generation capacity to make it so whenever the sun doesn't shine and the wind doesn't blow, that we still have electric, or we'll be facing brownouts like they were doing in California over the last week. So at least Joe Biden has backed away from, he at one point had said he was going to ban fracking on the first day of his election if he won. My congressional district here in Pennsylvania, you may have heard of it, because the fellow that's running against the Democrat is a fellow by the name of Sean Parnell,
yes,
who was a featured speaker at the Republican at the GOP convention this week. He's been on Fox News a lot, and he's running. His opponent is a guy by the name of Connor Lamb, who was also on that committee for Biden's energy proposal, and it was really my current congressman is the one that got him to back off of that anti-fracking language, because where this district is, where we are, it's really strong pro-natural gas, pro-fracking population here, because there's so many thousands of people, including my son-in-law, who are employed in the industry here.
Mm-hmm.
So he's backed off a little bit of that, because he backed off politically, because he's got, in particular, this district that he wants to win.
You know, let me ask you this, and I'll make it in kind of a form of a statement at first. But when you listen to AOC, a bartender with really no knowledge about the real world as far as agriculture, transportation, etc., and you listen to what they want to do and have the United States be carbon-free by 2035, they haven't done any of their homework on the transition costs. What about Mr. and Mrs. John Smith that live in Tucumcari, New Mexico, and they've got 2 pickups and they're trying to run a ranch? What about the guy that needs to take his wife in for dialysis 4 times a week, and they live 20 miles outside of a town that furnishes that type of medical treatment? What about the transition costs of forcing everybody off of fossil fuels and paying for, enormous paying, for new vehicles that they want under the standard of all electric? This is insane.
Well, it is, and you and I both know it, and every one of your listeners knows it. We can't get there can't get there from here, but we just can't. And just think about it too. They're saying, well, we're going to move away from fossil fuels. They don't like nuclear either, but we move away from fossil fuels for electricity generation. But yet they're saying we're going to put even more stress on our electrical grid, because we're going to need all that extra electric to power these EVs, electrical vehicles, that they want to replace the Ford 150 gas-guzzling truck. And so they're just actually exacerbating this electricity need problem by what they want to do, and they can't get there. I mean, the only big ways to produce reliable, abundant, affordable energy, it's really nuclear, and nuclear is not that cost effective. Or actually hydroelectric projects. But who wants to dam up? Who's going to support putting another dam or 2 across the Colorado River and dam up the Grand Canyon? That's like a marvelous hydroelectric project. But no one's going to do that. We're not going to do that in all the other, the New River Gorge Bridge south of me in West Virginia. New River Gorge, one of the most scenic areas. They make the best hydroelectric projects, but you and I both know that'll never occur, and I'm not suggesting it should, because we don't need it, because we've got the energy we need. It's right underneath my feet right here, largest
gas deposit in the world by far. Just needs to be accessed and produced using horizontal drilling and fracking to do that. We figured it out. We solved the problem. We cured America's dependence on foreign oil sources so we don't have to fight those stupid wars, the endless wars, as Donald Trump calls them, and use the energy that we were given. As you know, my philosophy for climate change is we should utilize all of Earth's resources for the betterment of mankind and do it as good stewards.
Amen.
And that should be the mantra of you, and I know it is with you, and all of your listeners, again, is to utilize all of our resources of the earth and do it as, for the betterment of mankind, and do it as good stewards. Be responsible.
You know, Greg, let me ask you this.
What God gave us.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this question. It seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, it seems to me that the Democrats have all fallen in lockstep behind this philosophy of, we got to get rid of fossil fuels and all solar and all wind power. What is this deal on your information sheet about the Democrats and CO2 coalition? Bring me up to speed on what's happening here.
Oh, yeah, I just accepted. I'll be transitioning over. I'm going to be the executive director for this nonprofit group out of Arlington, Virginia. It's called the CO2 Coalition. It's a wonderful science-based group, 55 members, all some of the best top scientists in the world, skeptical scientists, I might add. That we don't believe that the Earth is spiraling into a catastrophe due to our increases in CO2. So I'll be taking over that at the end of the year, and I really honored some just tremendous minds. Dr. Richard Lindzen from MIT, emeritus climate physicist or atmospheric physicist. Worked with Will Happer, who was with the Trump administration, again another atmospheric physicist. And you might have seen Dr. Patrick Moore.
Yes.
He was a co-founder of Greenpeace. I've been working with them. So I'll be leading this coalition. We're going to be getting the word out about this. We put out our primary, what we've been doing mainly is putting out research and white papers disputing the notion of catastrophic warming. And most recently, Dr. Lindzen's a tremendous paper taking down the climate models that he's shown that over-predict warming as much as 10 times too much. If we go back 30 years and model what's actually happened, he predicts and sees there's 5 to 10 times as much warming modeled as what actually took place. And that's what they're basing these trillions of dollars of expenditures on, are these models that are failed and over-predict. And this is, we've been attacked, the CO2 Coalition. A month ago there was a letter written by Stacey Abrams, Tom Steyer, John Podesta, and about 17 others, left-leaning libs, written to Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg, demanding that Facebook take down the CO2 Coalition's Facebook page. And just last week there was another letter written by Elizabeth Warren, again, targeting the CO2 Coalition, a letter to Zuckerberg demanding that he stifle the CO2 Coalition. So we must be doing something right. And we got that. Facebook took down our ad. We wrote an extensive letter documenting everything that they said was false, and they put it back up. They said, well, you're right. They granted us that what we had said was actually correct. So, I'm proud to be part of this group, and it'll be a challenge, but it'll be a great mouthpiece for me, because the coalition and my own thoughts aligned just incredibly. Because again, both of us believe that the modest warming that we've seen combined with increasing CO2 is benefiting the Earth's ecosystems and by extension humanity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not by a little bit, but by a lot.
Yes.
We see an Earth and humanity that are thriving and prospering. And it's a really, really good story that needs to be told.
Greg, I've said many times, and I know you and I have talked about it in the past, but the one thing and segment of our society that these people that are so lacking in knowledge and information like AOC and others is agriculture. They don't understand that a nation that can't feed itself is subservient to all other nations and their power. They lose their power if they can't control their own food and their own destiny. And without a good agricultural program, which would be totally shattered with the wind and the solar green energy, we're going to end up like a third world country. Am I wrong?
Oh, absolutely. You're not going to run a harvester, or you're not going to be able to plow and disc your fields with an electric-fired John Deere, or actually, I grew up my granddad's farm. We were always partial to international harvesters. We always had the red tractors, but I don't think they're not going to have anything electric power to do that. No combines, nothing like that. And then you can't. Once you've harvested the food, how are you going to get it to market?
Right.
You're not going to do it with the electric vehicles. You're going to use diesel. But you're right. It's the farmers that really are the backbone of this country. And it's, I know we always, growing up on my granddad's farm, we had dairy cows, Holsteins, and it was, any dairy farmer, it's a little bit different today with the automated systems, but getting up at 3:30 to milk the cows every morning, and, you got to, just admire people that are able to do that.
Absolutely.
We owe them so much.
Absolutely. We've got a caller, and I've got 3 minutes left. Caller, quickly, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, one thing we're got to remember, the last thing the left wants to see is an earth that is beautiful and thriving and prospering. They want to see an earth that the whole world suffering, miserable, impoverished, and dying.
Caller, I appreciate your comment. I'll have Mr. Wrightstone respond. Go ahead, Greg, please.
Well, I'm not going to argue with them. It
That's
sure
right.
feels that way, doesn't it?
That's right.
They think of what we've done over the last 30, 40, 50 years and where the earth and humanity, where we are today as it was back in the 50s and 60s, and how we've prospered. And a lot of that has to do with abundance of fossil fuels, abundance of reliable, low-cost, affordable, and abundant energy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's none of those terms can be described with renewables at all. And one of the things that really gets me with renewables, they throw in this biofuels. Biofuels basically are trees that they cut. They're cutting down forests, actually, across the United States and burning them like you would coal, and that's considered eco. That's considered green. They are considered renewable resources, but yet they produce even more carbon dioxide than what the coal would do to do the same thing. But they say, oh well, but when the trees grow back, they'll suck CO2 out of the atmosphere, and there's some truth to that. But just to cut down hardwood forests and pine forests, and we're shipping some of that to Germany actually for use in their biofuel, green biofuel, renewable energy projects, because that's what they qualify as.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, the book is called Inconvenient Facts, the science that Al Gore doesn't and didn't want you to know. Gregory Wrightstone. Greg, it's been too long, so we got to shorten the gap, and you got to come back real soon. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you very much, Seb.
God bless. Thank you. I really enjoy having him on the air, especially now that he's going to be taking over as the executive director of the CO2 Coalition, which is driving the Democrats absolutely nuts. We'll have him back in the next couple of weeks. Right now, I want to tell you about, a great place to go eat, and they were at the Cassia County Fair last week, too. Edith's Cafe at 144 East Highway 81 in Burley. They're open Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., Fridays and Saturdays, 11 to 9, and they also do catering. Oh, my goodness, along with all the delicious menu choices right there at the cafe. My goodness, call-in orders are available, and they've got it all for you. A menu from hamburgers to steaks, absolutely delicious. Edith's Cafe, 144 East Highway 81 in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Well, also, right now I'm going to get the weather forecast on, and then I'll have time for a call or two, so give me a jingle. I want to remind you the weather brought to you this hour by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. And you can go to their website and look at all the delicious meats, scarrowsmeats.com. All the marinated pork ribs, the tri-tips, and, of course, all the different bacons and the sausages and the bratwurst. Oh, it's delicious. Scarrows Meats. The number to call, 324-7657. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
The air quality alert still persists for today and some more rain showers in the forecast. Here's a look at your weather. We are expecting hazy conditions, rain showers off and on, and yes, that air quality alert is still in effect. So if you have upper respiratory issues, you might want to limit your time outside. We are expecting a high of 89 tonight, isolated thunderstorms, patchy smoke as well, with a low of 57. By tomorrow, smoke will still persist in the area, high of 83 with an overnight low of 52. Hopefully by Friday, we're going to see sunny skies, nice and clear, with a high of 84, overnight low of 53. Saturday, sunny and 87, then looks like possibly 76 for Sunday. That's a look at your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Appreciate it, Gina. Right now outside my studio, I've got 71 degrees, and the weather brought to you by Don Scarrow and the crew at Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Absolutely delicious meats for all occasions. You give them a call, 324-7657, because Scarrows Meats is changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. I want to say this, all the calls, all the emails, and all the well wishes for my wife, Deanne. As a matter of fact, in about 7 minutes, I'm going to be talking to her specialist, and we're going to be finding out a lot more. I can hardly wait to hear. I haven't talked to him for a couple of days, and I will pass that along tomorrow. But all of you people out there in the audience that have been so nice and so cordial, and wishing her the very best, as her husband does too. I miss her dearly, and I can't wait for her to get back home. And hopefully we'll have good news tomorrow. Want to remind you too about our major sponsor, and that's of course your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best in tires. I mean, they've got the Terramax HT for your pickups and SUVs, all-season tire. They've got great all-season tires for your automobiles. They've got the Proxys ST2 all-season traction superior handling tire for your pickups and SUVs. And along with all the tires, I want to urge everybody to remember this. They've got repair trucks that can be Johnny on the spot to serve you on the farm, the dairy, and the ranch. So don't forget about that. The best in brake service, the best in front-end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries, all of this and more at all 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. James in Buell, Dan on Pole Line in Twin Falls, Lane and Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, the Twist family in Paul, and of course Trent on Overland in Burley. I think he's going to be with us tomorrow for a few minutes. All of these great people representing your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in and see them today. Well, tomorrow's Thursday. We've got a lot of things going along with the Cache County School Days, Chamber of Commerce report, and a lot of other things, including a short interview at 8:30 with Governor Brad Little on the program tomorrow. So tune in. We always say at the end of the program, the way things were are the way things ought to be, and the 4 words that mean the most to me: in God we trust. Bless you all. Have a great day, and we'll be back here tomorrow morning at 8:06 for Zeb at the Ranch.